We want to bring back the culture of due process, accountability, transparency in public office. Corruption will now cease to be a way of life in Kenya.
In 2002, it was now the end of President Moi's 2 terms. There was renewed hope that the transition may allow Kenyans to elect a different crop of leaders. This didn't actually happen. They were just the old leaders in different political parties.
The underlying general causes of what happened in 2007 have to do with all the historical injustices, marginalization and impoverization of Kenyans.
The expectations for democracy had been so increased in the previous 5 years. The democratic election of 2002, 5 years of democratic space, expectations that the election in 2007 would be a good election.
We anticipated some level of problem, but we did not expect the sort of the blowout that occurred. That took us by surprise.
2007 actually was a crossroads in the sense that it also expressed very much the end of the road for Kenya as it was since 1963.
There are always problems in any election, but the corruption, the level of corruption in Kenya is unforgivable, it's bad.
2007 was the most corrupt election I've ever observed in this country. The amounts of monies that exchanged hands were colossal sums. So there was huge uncontrolled expenditure that actually bred a lot of corruption.
It is vital that we prosecute the masterminds of the violence as well as those who committed it. If, however, we end up not doing so, then the message would be clear to the wicked ones amongst us.
The 2007 elections were very important in conveying that message that you know, corruption eventually does destroy a society. It leads to people being beheaded on the streets, and it conveyed that message not only to ordinary Kenyans but also to donors who certainly were not aware of that and had not made those links up till then.
Unless there is some movement to hold people accountable for the violence last time round, then there will be no deterrent to people doing it again next time, and that is a fundamental reform.
I'm a human resource manager of Kenya. I employ presidents, MPs, or anyone. That's who I am.
So
yes.
That's how it's going?
I'm going this way. I'll go this way.
And which way is the country going?
But the country is not moving. Yes. You don't confuse me. The country is not going anywhere. We are here to stay.
Bunge, mahakama ya kisheria, majaji, rais, polisi, people, brothers and sisters. We live amongst each other. Our forefathers and mothers taught us how to protect each other, value and share. Conflicts were there, but no. Certainly not like this. Shuruti zako na majukumu yako. Je, umepiga roho yako mnada wapi? Protectors, lawmakers, leaders and friends. Look in the mirror. Yes, look closer. Then take a good look at what you see. And remember what one narrator once said. Kikulacho ki nguoni mwako, that what eats you is within you.
Parliament as an institution for a long time, particularly under the regimes before 2002, was basically an emasculated body. You know, it just bowed to the bid of the president.
So the president then got the powers of the head of government and the head of state. So there was no balancing of power at the top level.
We were a country that had one broadcaster, and the top story was always, you know, Mheshimiwa Rais, you know, the president did this today. And so you have a people who have been trained in a system of creating demigods out of the politicians.
You grow up knowing that this one guy is equals to Kenya and Kenya is equals to this guy. And you know, we grew up, we were a generation that never knew anything else other than the president.
Serikali ya mzee inatambua kwamba wabarikiwa ni walio masikini. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall go for funerals. Mzee akisema kwamba wabarikiwa ni walioko, vile mzee alisema.
To a certain extent, where we've gone wrong in this country with our parliamentarian system is that many of the incumbent politicians have had to buy their way to get their seat. When I say buy, not necessarily with cash, but in many cases with cash, but with favours, with promises. Many of them get into the House with so much debt.
Now, if you spend 200 million or 50 million in the campaign, there is no doubt that you try to get that money back. Somebody, in fact, told us that the best thing we can do while we are here is to make hay where the sun shines, eat. In fact, somebody told me that we could eat to such an extent that by the time we get out of here, we will not even be able to recognize ourselves in the mirror.
Because we do not have particularly strong social security systems, members of the public have come to rely on asking or seeking handouts from politicians. Many politicians actually, you know, jokingly refer to themselves as the ATM, the local ATM, automated teller machine, always having to give out money.
But we have to put a social net in place in this country one way or the other. And this is why I am particularly critical about what I consider unnecessary expenditures in the public service. And I simply don't accept that when you've got so many people living below the poverty line, you need to have 41 ministries.
Has our constitution enslaved us, Wanjiko? Has it been used as an instrument of oppression rather than liberation? If the people in power disregard the principles, is the constitution or any constitution worth the paper it is printed on? Remember, good people, a constitution gives you the right to pursue happiness, but you, Wanjiko, you must get hold of it first.
The benefit of what we have gone through is not just the document we are going to get, I don't even think the document is the most critical thing that we're going to get. But we've had this opportunity to talk and discuss, and people now know so much more about what a constitution is.
Please listen to me.
I'm going to give the Attorney General an advance copy of the Constitution.
As the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, I am conscious of my duty to promote, protect, and uphold the rule of law.
The Attorney General is the legal officer for the government. He's there to advise the government, and he is the one that prosecutes cases for and on behalf of the government.
His position as the lawyer of the country makes him powerful. Powerful in the sense, first, that he can prosecute anybody apart from the president. Charles Jonjo understood that power, and that made Charles Jonjo the second most powerful person after Kenyatta. People feel the Attorney Generals have failed in their mandate for one. They have protected people who should not have been protected, so that they have refused to enforce the criminal law against powerful people.
If you look at the structure of the judicial system where corruption is rampant, if you look at the Attorney General whose visa we have taken away on grounds of corruption, if you look at the entire structure, there is in essence a sort of system of impunity that is set up to ensure that the most senior officials are not held accountable.
All these militias that are there are symbolic or an expression of the decay of the state. When Mungiki comes up, when you look at the history of Mungiki, it started off as a self-defense mechanism in the Rift Valley around the clash areas because the state was not providing security.
I think the Mungiki is sort of a microcosm of the larger problems that the youth in Kenya face today. Joblessness, a feeling of being left out in the decision-making of the country.
They were very, very quickly co-opted by the state, by individual politicians within the state.
Our organization is just an organization like any other. We have following in the police force, we have people in the military, in the civil service.
When you become accustomed to sort of making money easily off politics and you're not making, and the elections are over and your usefulness in that regard is over, then you move into extortion. And again, the extortion sort of starts, well, if there's crime in the area, let us manage crime in the area. So people willingly pay, just like we pay for private security companies.
Every time the criminal activity takes place, the police are all over the media saying the killings were carried out by Mungiki, Mungiki extortionists. How can they continue saying that we have people out there who are extorting money from the public? They have failed.
Many of us as Kenyans don't blink when police kill people. Because as long as the police tell us that these people are criminals, we say, fine, let them get off the streets. We have accepted as Kenyans a police force that can kill anybody on the allegation by the police themselves, who are the most untrusted institution in the country. We've given them a sense of complete impunity.
Things started happening. Beheadings were carried out and attributed to some of our members. Young people started missing, disappearing after being arrested by police officers. Others will be found murdered in forests, in the morgue.